Good afternoon, everyone. This is Linda with Linda Sue Plants for you. Today I'm going to probably do a lot more talking than anything else. It has been on my mind and on my heart to do this video for a while, and I've been trying to figure out exactly how to word what it is I want to say. And I think I have finally done that. To start with, I want to tell you a little story about a friend of mine many years ago who had a friend who went through a really horrible marriage followed by a very horrible divorce. And she was unable to trust anyone after that, and no one could blame her. And she had a friend, well, she approached that friend at some point in her life, and she said she was starting to develop feelings for someone, and she asked her friend, "I don't know if I'm ready for another relationship." And the friend's answer to her, and I'll never forget this because I thought it was pretty profound, but the answer she gave her was this. She said, "Go out and buy yourself a live plant, a house plant, and take it home, and if it's still alive in a year from now, then you're ready for a relationship again." And when I heard that, I chuckled at first, but as years went on, I started to think, that's really a profound thought if you think about it. And the reason I'm telling you this little story is because there has been an influx on the internet of plant moms and plant dads and just plant people in general, and we come from all different walks of life. Some of us buy little plants and grow them up. Some of us are fortunate enough to have a budget where we can buy big, huge plants right at the get-go, and we're able to enjoy them as big plants. I am not sure, even if I had the good fortune to be able to afford to buy, $200-300 plants, 3-4 of them at a time, several times a month. I don't know if I would do that or not. And I guess I never will unless I'm in that person's shoes. But today's video is going to focus on those of us that don't do that and can't do that. And I want to talk about the upsides of this. And that is the joy of seeing that plant grow from a tiny little snipping or a tiny little cutting or a tiny little 1.5-inch pot that you picked up at a flea market, or a plant that you got on the clearance aisle that was half dead, and you took it home and you nurtured it and you took care of it and you watched it grow up. I've heard so many people say over the years, I just don't how do you do that? How do you grow those beautiful plants? I just don't have a green thumb. Well, I don't think there is any such thing as a green thumb. I think what we have to focus on is, why are you buying the plants in the first place? If you're buying plants to decorate your home, and that's your sole purpose for doing so, then you probably want to get a big, beautiful plant, maybe a big parlor palm, or I don't know, maybe a big Ficus elastica, rubber tree, because you want to fill up an empty spot. That's one good reason for buying plants. It's just for the sole purpose of decorating a room. Then there are those of us that buy plants because we just love all the different species, and we we enjoy looking at them and seeing what they do and how they grow. If you are the kind of person that is looking for strictly for decor purposes, and you don't have the time, or maybe you travel a lot, or you have pets and you're afraid that, you know, they're going to get into a poisonous plant, or there's just a myriad of reasons of why people don't want to start out with little plants. And some people just want the aesthetic of that greenery in their room. And you know, nowadays they make plants, artificial plants, that are so real looking that even with my experience with plants, I sometimes have to go up and feel them to see if they're real or artificial. And maybe that would be for you as well. But if you're like me, you will enjoy the process of getting that little tiny plant and helping it to grow up, or rescuing a plant, saving it from certain death. And that is pretty much my life. That is what I do, and that's what I love to do. And I'm going to just go through and show you just a few of my plants. Most of you who are following me have seen all these already in my tours, but I'm just going to focus in on a few just for the purposes of this video. And I hope this will help encourage and inspire other people. And I really, really want to inspire those of you that don't feel like you have a green thumb, but you want to have real plants and you want to buy them and see them grow up. You can do this. And here's how you do it. When you are raising a plant, it's very much like raising a child or a pet. You get to know that plant, and you have to really pay attention. And I'm going to say, if not a daily basis, no more than every other day, because things happen. Temperature changes happen that may affect your plant that you're not aware of, or you might get some kind of pest, mealybugs or spider mites or what have you. And it's really, really important that you catch those right away and get rid of them right away. And the only way you're going to do that is if you inspect your plants very, very often. Myself, I absolutely love feeling my plants and looking at my plants and looking for new growth, and those are all the things that you do close up and personal, and that will help you to see what's going on. And one of the things that I can say that is really, and I'm sorry about this lighting here, folks, that's I find so fascinating, is I can usually tell from across the room if there's something going on with my plant, because I look at them all the time. And every once in a while, I'll say to myself, something's not right about that plant. And it can be something so subtle that the average person would not know looking at it that there's anything wrong with it. But you know, because you see it every day, and it just looks a little off. Kind of like when a little toddler has maybe their eyes are, the whites of their eyes are red and they look a little extra tired today, and so you go up and you feel them because you wonder, do they have a fever and are they coming down with something? Well, it's the same way with plants. They have a certain look to them when they're at their optimal health, and they have another look to them when they're ailing from something, whether it be overwater or they need water, or maybe there's a pest problem going on. And I've had my share, even with, checking my plants as often as I do, but I generally do catch it early enough that I can, rectify the problem. So I think that kind of is the dividing line between people who think they have a green thumb and people who actually do. I think everyone can have a green thumb if they wish to, just by being very diligent and also doing research. That's another very important thing. We might think that we know certain things about plants that maybe we do and maybe we don't. And I have found that I've had some misconceptions about some plants myself. And I've been raising plants practically my whole life. And I'm old, so yeah, that's a long time. But I just want to encourage you, if you love plants and you want to get started, or you've already gotten started but you've lost a few, please don't be hard on yourself about that. We've all lost plants, and you will continue to lose plants as long as you have them. There are sometimes, some occasions where no matter what you do, you cannot figure out what the problem is, and you may lose that plant. And if that happens, it's okay. It happens to all of us. So don't feel like a bad plant mom or plant dad and give up and feel like a failure. Just move on. One of the other things I like to encourage people to do is when you have a plant that you really love, learn how to take cuttings from it if you don't already. That way, if something does happen to one of them, you'll have another one. I did that with this plant that I'm showing you right now, the Maranta, the prayer plant. When I bought this plant, it was in a 2-inch pot. And I have divided it and divided it and divided it. I've got so many prayer plants from that plant. I've got more on this table. And the initial plant was in a pot. I'm trying to do a close-up here so that you can see. You see that little pot right there? That was the size the plant was in originally when I bought it. And as you can see, there's another tray of Maranta right there, in with the rest of my Calatheas, or Calatheas, however you pronounce. I've also given quite a few cuttings away to friends and family from this plant. So as you can see, it is growing great guns. And that started with like a $2 or $2.50 plant. Most of the plants that I own started out very, very small. And they grew up in my home. So don't give up. What you're looking at right now is a waffle plant. Well, there's 2 of them there with a bird's nest fern stuck behind it. But these are 2 different waffle plants. And the purple one, that's my 3rd one. The first 2 I got, I killed. And I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. Well, I kept doing research, and I finally figured out what I was doing wrong. And one of the things was, everything that I read on it or learned on it was that they like to be kept evenly moist. And I learned a while ago that evenly moist doesn't really mean moist. It's both of these plants I let dry out down to about 1/3 of the pot. So in other words, the bottom third of those pots will have moisture. Not wet, but moist. And then I water them. And now they're growing great. The other thing that I want to mention here, and I'm going to go into this more in depth in another video, is watering for everyone is different. It depends greatly on the soil medium that you're using, or the substrate, as some people call it. If you've got a lot of drainage in that soil, if you've got a lot of big hunks of whatever, whether it's stones or bark or charcoal or whatever, perlite, and you've got a super fast draining soil, then that might be a little different for you. So when people say this plant should be watered X amount of times in a week, that's not something that we should be paying attention to. It's going to depend a lot on what your plant is planted in, how much light it's getting, how much humidity you have in your home, the temperature of your home. That all makes a difference. And lastly, before I wrap this up, I just want to say that when you're raising plants and you're taking care of them, if you really truly love your plants as much as I do, and I know a lot of people out there do, it is so rewarding to see a plant grow from something almost nothing into something wonderful, huge, big, healthy, and to know that you had a hand in doing that. There's just something very calming about that. So don't despair. If you want to be a good plant mom or a good plant dad, go do it. Go get yourself a couple little plants. Start out small. Take care of those plants for a while. And I have to warn you, it is a little addicting. So once you get a couple, you're going to want a couple more and a couple more. And sometimes it's hard to stop. But then what happens is you get overwhelmed. And you forget what the plant's needs are specifically. And that's where a lot of people run into trouble. And then all of a sudden they have this domino effect of, oh no, this plant's dying and this plant's not looking good. And, you know, it's really best to start out with just a few plants at a time and continue to take care of them, paying close attention to them on a daily basis. Watch the new growth coming up. Maybe even do a cutting or a repotting and see what you can do. And I promise you, you will be so excited at the end of it. And you'll no longer be walking around saying, I just don't have a green thumb. Because you can. I promise. I want to thank you all who have subscribed to my channel, and those of you who continue to come back and make comments. I so appreciate them, and it helps me to know that people really are watching and really enjoying them, and it encourages me to make more. So thank you, and I hope you all have a wonderful Sunday, what's left of it, and I hope you all have a good week. And in the meantime, if you have plants already, take good care of them and do a video for us. Show us what you've done. Alright. I hope this was helpful for you all, and I hope to see you all back again. This is Linda with Linda Sue Plants for You. Bye now.